Hey guys, this is Jared, creator here at Wisecrack. Today we're talking about a film that seems to raise more questions than answers, Christopher Nolan's Inception. You're probably thinking this film has been analyzed to death, and you'd be right. The internet has scrutinized every element of the film's plot, from infographics that chronicle each dream level to videos that break down visual cues with excruciating attention to detail, all with the aim of answering the pivotal question: does Cobb make it back to reality at the end, or was it all a dream? Although some convincing arguments have been made, truth is we may never be able to answer this question with any real authority. I mean, the final shot makes it pretty clear that Nolan wanted it to be inconclusive. But what if we're focusing on the wrong things? What if the answer to the film doesn't lie in the plot, but in the construction of the film itself? What if we'll never be able to draw a clear distinction between dream and reality because films themselves are dreamlike in nature? For those of you that are fans of our show Earthling Cinema, you may remember we touched on this briefly, but we felt like it warranted a more detailed explanation. Welcome to this special episode on Christopher Nolan's Inception, our film's dreams. One of the biggest criticisms we hear leveled at Inception is that the film has way too much exposition, the incessant use of not-so-subtle dialogue to prime the audience on what's going on.
Killing him will just wake him up.
You build this world. I am the subject. My mind populates it.
Some have even sarcastically started referring to the film as exposition, and I suppose that's not unwarranted. It takes over 30 minutes of explaining the rules of the world before the story really gets rolling. Most of this information is funneled to the audience through Ellen Page's character Ariadne.
Then the longer we have before the projections catch us?
What's that?
Named after the mythological character who helps Theseus through the labyrinth in the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. Certainly, some may decry the fact that the only female protagonist in the film is nothing more than a passive surrogate for the audience to learn how the logic of the world works. But considered through a certain lens, our identification with Ariadne makes for some of the most interesting insights of the film. During her training, we see Cobb and Ariadne drinking coffee at an outdoor cafe. The scene unfolds like a scene in any other movie, until Ariadne realizes
We're dreaming?
this isn't just a revelation for Ariadne, but for the audience as well. We were also unaware that it was a dream. I mean, we didn't see them jack into their dream machine things, so how would we know otherwise? Cobb goes on to explain how it is that she's been tricked.
You never really remember the beginning of a dream, do you? You always wind up right in the middle of what's going on.
What Nolan is really highlighting here is that, like a dream, a scene in a movie will often start in the middle of the action, not at the beginning. We didn't see them arrive at the cafe, sit down, and order their overpriced percolated drip coffee, because that's not how movies work. A film can jump forward in time without any explanation of how or why the characters are there, and we as the audience accept it. We accept narrative ellipses. Just as we can believe our dreams are real, even though we start in the middle of the action, we also become engrossed in a film, even though we're constantly thrown in the middle of a new scene. Why is it that movies, these collection of moving images mashed together, are able to immerse us in a kind of reality, one that we're so heavily invested in? Nolan isn't the first to suggest that the way we dream is similar to the way we experience films. In the book, In the Blink of an Eye, legendary film editor Walter Murch suggests that the reason films work is because we've been trained by our dreams to be invested in this kind of disjointed storytelling. He says, "We accept the cut because it resembles the way images are juxtaposed in our dreams. In the darkness of the theater, we say to ourselves in effect, this looks like reality, but it cannot be reality because it's so visually discontinuous. Therefore, it must be a dream." Throughout Inception, Nolan is constantly drawing a comparison between the logic of cinema and the logic of dreams. Like dreams, films affect us on a subconscious level.
You create the world of the dream, and they fill it with their subconscious.
Let's take a look at when Cobb meets Eames in Mombasa. We are brought into the scene in the same way we're brought into many scenes, with an establishing shot. We cut from a conversation between Cobb and Arthur to an aerial shot of Mombasa. We have no idea how much time has passed or if Cobb had gone down another dream level. We just start in the middle of the action. One may be tempted to say, aha, well then it must be a dream, just like Cobb said. But then again, that's just how movies function.
You're not dreaming now, are you?
Later, when Cobb is being chased through the city streets, he gets stuck in an alley that narrows to a point. Now, I know absolutely nothing about Mombasa city planning, but this does seem to be really strange and quite unsafe. There are two ways we can interpret this. One, as an indication that it's a dream. Claustrophobia, after all, is a common anxiety found in dreams. Or two, this can simply be a cinematic technique that heightens the tension of the scene. Bizarre and unexplained structures find their way into movies all the time for the sake of conveniently allowing the scene more suspense and excitement, like the archetypal plate of glass being carried through the streets. Yet, we don't necessarily dismiss those scenes as dreams within the narrative. Then Sato all of a sudden shows up in his limo. What is he doing there?
What are you doing in Mombasa?
I need to protect my investment.
Seems like one of the wealthiest men in the world could have sent someone else. And more importantly, how did he show up at exactly the right time that Cobb needed him? Seems pretty convenient. Perhaps this is an indication that Cobb is dreaming. Certainly, such wish fulfillment occurs within dreams, but on the other hand, these coincidences happen in movies all the time. If dreams can captivate us into believing the most far-fetched, illogical, nonsensical scenarios, then Nolan seems to be making the point that cinema can as well. One of the most critical examples of this is during Maul's death scene. Cobb walks in to see Maul sitting on the edge of a window in a neighboring building. Yet, all the furniture has been upturned in the room Cobb is in. Are we to believe that Maul went apeshit on the furnishings, then rented a room in the neighboring building and sat on the windowsill waiting for her husband to come home? Maybe this is a clue that the whole thing is a dream. Or perhaps this is just deliberate cinematic technique. The physical distance between them heightens the tension of the scene and reflects the disagreement between them that's at the center of the conflict. Maul insists they're dreaming, and Cobb thinks it's reality. So once again, we're forced to ask ourselves, does this implausibility of the scene mean it's a dream, or just another filmmaking technique? It's quite common for directors to manipulate spatial orientation for dramatic effect, even if it doesn't make logical sense. In The Shining, for example, the geography of the Overlook Hotel features some spatial impossibilities that are, well, impossible. If these windows are leading outside, then where are these people coming from? But in the case of The Shining, this is consciously done to give the hotel a creepy, otherworldly feeling. With Inception, however, Nolan adds an extra layer of obscurity to his already utterly ambiguous work. You tricky little devil, you. If we're watching a movie about dreams, and the logic of movies works like the logic of dreams, then how the hell are we supposed to know what's real and what's a dream? That's the brilliance of Inception. We can't.
Come back to reality, Tom.
The other major criticism we often hear is that for a film about exploring the subconscious, the dreams feel more like generic action film settings than the psychedelic absurdities we often associate with dreams. While some more experimental imagery might have been nice, doing so would have neutered the film of this clever association with cinema. For example, the snow bunker chase scene is essentially an homage to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and as such feels more like a Bond movie than a film about dreams. But considering that Inception is kind of an ode to cinema itself, it makes sense that Nolan would draw inspiration from one of the essential film franchises when constructing the aesthetic of dreams. Given that Nolan's profound love of cinema and film history is well documented, Inception may be his most personal film yet. Not only does he get to make a mind-bending balls-to-the-wall action film, but he also gets to comment on how films capture our imagination in a devilishly clever way. Which brings me to the first teaser poster, an image of Cobb's back in front of a cityscape. Or is it Cobb? Is it any coincidence that DiCaprio and Nolan have basically the same hair? Or that, like Cobb, Nolan is often wearing a suit while directing and giving interviews? So whose back is it on the poster? Is it Cobb the dreamer? Or is it Nolan the dream weaver? Or is it, like the film itself, deliberately ambiguous? It's maybe a stretch, but interesting to think about. If you're one of the poor souls still tortured by the uncertainty of the ending, then hopefully this video has given you some kind of peace. We'll never really know what's a dream and what's not, and that's the point. Trying to discern if a character is in a dream in a medium that itself functions like a dream is, well, kind of a paradox.
Paradox.
Hey guys, as always, thanks so much for watching, and stick around because we got a few important things we want to share with you. First, we've got some amazing episodes in the pipeline, including breakdowns of The Wolf of Wall Street, The Walking Dead, House of Cards, Guardians of the Galaxy, and a bunch more, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new episodes. Also, I want to make sure you guys know about an amazing channel we collaborate with called The School of Life. These guys are a great complement to Wisecrack. They're all about gaining wisdom, emotional intelligence, and self-understanding, and their video essays cover topics like history, philosophy, psychology, relationships, and so much more. Click here to be taken to their channel page, and be sure to subscribe while you're over there. You won't be disappointed. And one more thing, it's a new year, so why not learn some more good stuff? You can do that and help support the show by signing up today with a 10-day free trial at lynda.com/8bit and get unlimited access to thousands of online courses. That's lynda.com/8bit. Lynda.com's courses are taught by experts, and new courses are added to the site every week. Whether you want to invest in a new hobby, ask your boss for a raise, improve your job skills, set new financial goals, or find some work-life balance in 2016, lynda.com has something for everyone. Sign up for your free 10-day trial today by visiting lynda.com/8bit, and you'll get unlimited access to every course on lynda.com, access to view tutorials on all tablets and phones, and access to new courses added every week. Some of the courses and videos we recommend are essential trainings on Photoshop, Premiere, and After Effects. Those are all programs that we use to make this video that you just got done watching. So do something good for yourself in 2016 and sign up for lynda.com's free 10-day trial at lynda.com/8bit. That's all for now. I've got to get back to work on the Walking Dead video, so as always, thank you for watching.